Hey folks, we are going to continue our efforts on the martial power system that we've been developing here for the past year. So give me a second here to check my signal, make sure everything's coming through, and then we'll get to work here for maybe an hour and a half or so. So let's see if my signal's coming through. Baka baka baka, baka baka. Baka baka baka, baka baka, baka baka. Sounding pretty good. All right, good. All right, now let's get this uploaded and up and running. I'll go through my brief intro spiel and then we'll get started. If you're picking up on this after the fact, skip forward like maybe like a minute or two, and then you should be in the flow with where we're at. But hey, my name is Phil Kearney. I create role-playing game supplements. I illustrate them and then I publish them online. And I've been focusing my attention on Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition for the past 5 years. There is a slew of links to work that I've created previously in the description down below, including what you can see here on screen, the Color Mana Spell Point variant rules, which is so far the most successful product that I've built, which basically takes the Magic the Gathering 5-color mana system and converts it into a spell point system that works really easily with 5e. Most of all the work that I produce is 100% free previews, so you can flip through them before you purchase to recognize if the quality is where you want it at. And so if you're here for the artwork, there's probably about 150 different illustrations amongst those books. If you're here specifically for 5e mechanics, then most of the stuff that I build is meant for both DM and player sides of the DM screen. So be welcome to check some of this stuff out. If you think it's cool, consider making a purchase or two to support the growth of the stream. Otherwise, you can support me here on Twitter at Phil Kearney, where I always post when I've gone live. But obviously, the best way to help grow the channel is to like, subscribe, hit the bell icon to get notifications when we're live as we go live in the future, such as this. And we've picked up another subscriber today. Thanks so much. We're trying to get to 500 before the end of the year. That's a big ask, but all we can do is try our best to provide just tools and information for people to grow, which is all this channel is for. So this is, so we're here in episode 79. If you check in the description down below here, you'll find a link to the playtest content and early looks here on my Patreon. You don't have to be a paying member of Patreon to see this stuff, but let's go down here to the playtest content for martial powers. The YouTube stream that you're watching right now is literally right here, the playlist of the 79 episodes. But if you click here on the martial power system, it will open up the Google Doc. For you, it's going to be read only. But it also has all the content you need to be able to play a game from level 1 to 20 for barbarians, fighters, monks, paladins, rangers, rogues, warlocks, and artificers. And we also have stuff in the DM side for you to be able to create unique power kits for different creatures, anything out of the monster manual, flea mortals, kobold press, any of those you can have. We have easy templates that you can click onto any kind of creature that you want to make them, like from the 4th edition, for those that remember, there were different types of creatures or monsters. And there was like solos, controllers, skirmishers, brutes, artillerists. There were these different types of creature templates, minions as well. There was different creature templates that assign monsters roles in the game. And so the kits that we have basically curve into, like if you're an artillerist, there's going to have a bunch of stuff like with ranged attacks and disable effects. If you're a controller, it's all going to be crowd control, taunts, push, sort of control-y effects, etc., etc., etc. So there's, again, stuff for both the player side and the DM side. But today, we're focusing on the player side. We are going to be converting the fighter champion subclass into the martial power system. So I'm going to drop down here, pull out this second page here. Here's the list of 140 powers that we've developed so far, which is an alternate non-spellcasting magic system that basically gives your characters an allocation of short rest mana that you can then spend on different effects. Much like Key or Warlock, if you're familiar with the Spell Point Warlock book, you know that that has the same progression as basically Key does, that you get 1 to 20 spell points over the course of 1 to 20 levels. The level of a spell in the player's handbook equals the amount of mana that you spend. If you're using universal spell points or like universal key, that's all you need to know. Spend the amount of mana, you're good to go. If you're using color mana, like Magic the Gathering, or if you're using elemental magic, like the 4 elements, like the Last Airbender Avatar, then all the different spells and things that you have access to are going to be devoted to one of those facets of magic. Magic the Gathering has 5 colors: white, blue, black, red, green. And the 4 elements, of course, has air, earth, fire, water. So you can check out the books in the free preview here, as well as the elemental key, which is also included with that bundle, for you to see how we're allocating spells to one or more facets of magic. It replaces the 8 schools of magic and instead inserts this other narrative magical system. Magic the Gathering, Ravnica, Strixhaven, Theros. Those are only 3 of like the 30 some odd different planes of existence that are already inside of Magic the Gathering, that this color mana system provides an elegant solution for you to be able to use color magic. So if you want to cast red magic spells, you need to devote some of your mana pool to red mana. If you want to cast green spells, then you would want to have some of your mana devoted to green magic. Some spells are both red and green, so then it wouldn't matter which one you have. As long as you're spending 1 point from the color of magic that it's devoted to, you can use like a bunch of blue magic on the side. As long as you get that 1 point of green, you can cast a green spell. Otherwise, whatever, like if it's a 5th level spell, it's going to take 5 mana. 1 could be green and the other 4 could be any colors that you want. With this system, and we talk about it later on in the book, but in this system, there's 5 disciplines of power. There's exploits, there's maneuvers, there's reactions, there's strikes, and then there's sustained effects, which are like concentration effects. So the way that we break it down is basically you take 2 aspects or 2 facets of magic, either 2 elements or 2 colors, and the sustained powers that you can concentrate on can use either one of those facets. So like if you're playing, say, Boros, the Boros Legion in Ravnica, right? Or Lorehold in Strixhaven, that's white-red energy. So either white or red mana would be able to trigger sustained effects for you to be able to concentrate on and have auras that are basically affecting your character. But then like you could pick 2 other, but of the 4 that remain, pick 2 to be white and pick 2 to be red. So like it could be like exploits and reactions could be red, while strikes and maneuvers could be white. And then every time you take a short rest, you can reallocate all 20 of your points to lean into either white or red, or have any mix in between that you want. And then once between short rests, as a bonus action, you can convert a number of points that you have to another color equal to your maximum level of power. So it's a very flexible system. It's universal for all spellcasters. They all use the exact same mana system. This system uses that as well. It uses half casting progression, but none of the powers are higher than 4th rank. We call it rank instead of spells because it's not spellcasting, right? So we don't have any powers that are higher than 4th rank, which means that you have the access to the entire library of 140 powers at 13th level, which tends to be the high end of a campaign for most of the stuff that's published. Every about 250 some odd hours of gameplay, I cycle through a 1 to 20 level campaign. My team is currently on 19th level. We've been playtesting this stuff since 12th level, and I'm going to be firing up a playtest dungeon crawl, hex crawl sort of thing as a sort of West March game for players to build out characters, drop them into the game. We'll play. I'll build out monsters that use the power kits that we have at the back end of the book that you can take a look at right now. If you go down to my Patreon and check it out. So there's a lot of stuff we have going on. It's basically a template system that you can use as much or as little for. We'll have some guidance in the DM section for how to sculpt campaigns using different magic paradigms if you want, or just leaving mana universal, which obviously is the least amount of effort for you to think about. It's just you got a point, you spend it, you do the thing. There you go. And there, with 140 different things to do, you're stacked up. So what we're going to do today specifically is, getting back to the point, is we are going to find the proper window. Bloop, there you go. And so we have the the fighter champion, right? So we've taken the champion and we've dropped it into a notepad here, so we can flip between our screens easily. We've got a list of powers here. We have our power progression here. If you're curious about like how to multi-classing stacks together, the progression of a power die, which is essentially a mix between a superiority die, a psionic die, and an inspiration die from battle masters, side characters, and bards. It basically plays that same role. Multi-classing is smooth, it's transparent, so all martial classes can basically curve together and use power. You can basically continue gaining powers just like spellcasters continue gaining spell levels. Your mana pool continues to grow. The artificer, paladin, and ranger use hybrid points, which is a maximum of 40 points at 20th level. 5th level spells cost 5 mana. They're regained on a long rest. This is the same information that's provided both in the Universal Spell Points and High Magic book, as well as the tap on tap burn 5 color mana spell point variant rule core mechanics. That's a nasty title. I'm going to probably just change that to 5 color mana spell point variant rules when we update the book next year with 1D&D, because we're going to convert all of these books to the new system of whatever 6E is going to become. We'll still have all this 5th edition stuff available for people as part of the backlog that you can queue up and have access to. We'll include it in the zip files when you purchase the books of 6E, but it'll also have all the 6E content that we're going to update next year when the new system comes out. And it'll be a fun opportunity for us to go through all of these different books, update everything, and make everything, standard and current. So let's see. How do these things work? Let's take a look at our formatting here. We're going to scroll down to the fighter. As you can see, we've already completed the barbarian, and we previously completed all the rogue already, and we're about halfway through monk. So we're going to finish up the fighter. We're going to then finish up the monk. And then that will put us down. Once we finish the fighters and monks, then we're going to drop into monsters and start building templates for various monsters that are in the monster manual. And then we'll do some cleanup in the DMG. We'll be playtesting during that time. We'll then send this off to an editor to clean up, to bring back to us. And then if you want to see that process of book creation, of layouts, and then illustrating into the PDF of the document, you can check out my morning coffee stream Monday through Friday. We're currently working on a Spelljammer book with alternate and additional rules for Spelljammer adventures in space. Check that out too. Like and subscribe, get notifications daily of me updating various projects that we're working on. So, fighter, here's an example. The Arcane Archer. As you can see here, you gain 2 bonus powers each level. 3, 5, 9, 13, 17 is a... Hey, Knack, it's good to see you, my guy. So you all archetypes or subclasses gain a kit of powers automatically that helps like sculpt the theme of the class. And then you have the features. But if a feature works perfectly fine using the power system, then we just label it as no changes. I don't need to duplicate the stuff. Maybe we will when we publish it. But as it stands, some of these features don't need to be changed at all. Battle Master was fun to rebuild. Again, this is all content. If you go down and click below, you can go to my Patreon for free and look at this read-only document to play along. So you'll see that as we go through this, I don't necessarily know what needs to be updated or changed. So we're just going to tool through the system here, see what cool exploits or options we can create with these things, and then we'll build out the features. Once we have the features, so we'll build out the features first. And then, given what the features are, we'll come back through and then we'll build out our kit of powers. And then we'll move on to the next one. So that's the project that we're working on. I'm going to go ahead and set a 20-minute timer here to make sure that I keep moving along swiftly. Let me see where we're at. OBS, 15 minutes in. Okay, great. So I don't remember what the mechanics was called exactly, but I think it was interesting if the champion made use of locking powers. Yeah, sure. Yes, sustained power. What Knack is referencing there is the when you go down into sustained powers. One of the disciplines of power are called sustained powers, which are concentration effects. Everything else in here is either an instant effect that you pop it and it's done, or for the most part, like you affect something, like you trigger like a stun effect on somebody, and then it's up to them to make their saving throw to get out of it. So I've got thoughts about that as well that I'll share later on if we have time today. But the sustained powers, each of these, the way that sustained power concentration works is the base 10 concentration plus the amount of mana that it takes for you to trigger the exploit, or to trigger the power. So like, for example, Blind Sense. You are aware of locations of any creature and object on the same plane of existence as you within 10 feet times your proficiency bonus, including walls, floors, and ceilings. That should actually be times your max rank of power. So it starts off at 10 feet for 1 mana. There you go. But if your max rank is, say, your 17th level, your max rank of power is 5, then that one point of mana will get you 50 feet of Blind Sense, for instance. So if spellcasters don't gain ranks of power at all, just like a barbarian doesn't gain any levels of spellcasting when you multi-class. So if you take like a 1 level dip into fighter, like 2 level dip in fighter, and then 18 levels into wizard, you're going to have at most first rank of power, and you will have a lot of mana available to you because wizard just dumps on mana, and you can use both the mana pools together, but it would never be able to perform better than 1 rank of power, because that's your max rank of power, because you only have 2 levels of fighter. So you can bend multi-classing together in fun ways to be able to build the kind of exploits that you want. So, but other things like for example, power armor. No, wait. What's a good one? Most of these things, giant growth is a good example. It costs 2 mana for you to become size large and to gain a number of benefits along with being size large. But if you spend 4 mana instead, you could be size huge and be able to gain all the advantages thereof. Second rank power is gained at 5th level, just like you get second level spells at 5th level. 4th rank of power you gain at 13th level. So that's an example of putting more mana into an ability. A base ability gives you better results. So you can maintain concentration. Like if I'm size huge, it'd be 10 plus mana equals 14. Any saving throw that I make at all has to hit a DC 14, or I lose the ability. It gets scuttled. If I take damage, that works normally. Half damage equals DC. So if I get hit for 60 points of damage, I'm going to have to make a Constitution saving throw, DC 30. These are going to be really hard to hit. Like if I've got 5 mana tapped and maintaining like multiple powers at the same time, I can stack them up to my max level. So I could have 5 first rank powers all added up together to be 5 mana worth of ranks sustained. That's and say wisdom is my dump stat with like a -2. If I get hit with a DC 18, I'm going to have to basically roll a 20 on a 20-sided die, or I'm going to lose all those things, and that sucks. So the solution that we have is locking. Instead of maintaining concentration on an effect, you can lock it, so you no longer have to maintain concentration, and it can remain active until like you take a short rest, you fall unconscious, stuff like that. You can lose the lock, but while things are okay, you can maintain the lock for as long as you want. But it reduces the amount of mana that you can use. Like if I have haste, like a 5th level wizard can cast haste and maintain concentration on that 3rd level spell, fine. And while you're doing that, you can lob fireballs or like cast, but like you wouldn't be able to cast invisibility because that would replace your haste with invisibility. Well, with this system, you could say maintain haste with 3 mana, and while you're doing that and having to make concentration checks to maintain that haste, you could still be doing different things like I don't know, like telekinesis, or like a goad, or teleport effects, instantaneous effects. You can still use those. Like say, let's go down to like a 3rd level, a third rank strike, for instance. is Stun Strike. You damage increases by 1 power die per mana burned, and the creature must make a Constitution saving throw or be stunned. So that costs 3 mana. And I could do that while I'm maintaining concentration on haste. But if I locked haste, it would reduce the amount of mana that I can use for instant effects by 3. So if I was only 9th level and I had a maximum rank of 3, this would literally lock all of my mana, and I would no longer be able to use mana while I had haste locked, but I would permanently have haste in effect until something made me lose it, like going to sleep or dying, basically, or choosing to end it at your pleasure. So like at 17th level, I could permanize haste and just keep it locked on me and still have 2 mana open for me to do all the cool stuff I could do with, like, say, 2 mana. Which is like Blinding Strike, Life-Stealing Strike, Provoking Strike, Restraining Strike. These are different second rank strikes that I would be able to freely use because I still have 2 ranks of mana open. That's what NAC down here is referring to. So that's certainly an option that we can take advantage of. So let's go ahead and get into what the champion offers us so we can start messing around with this thing. So I'm going to reduce the space on my board here. So champion archetype focuses on the development of raw physical power owned by deadly perfection. Those who model themselves on this archetype combine rigorous training with physical excellence to deal devastating blows. So beginning at 3rd rank, improved critical. Beginning when you choose this archetype at 3rd level, your weapon attacks score a critical hit on a roll of 19 or 20. Improved critical. So no changes there. I like him having that crit. What else you got going on here? In addition, when you're making a remarkable athlete. No, that's 7th level. So let's see. That's all. So, okay, so a big problem that I have with martial classes is that you only get a thing every time you gain a subclass, right? As opposed to a wizard that gets 22 things over the course of 22 levels. Basically getting an extra 2 things per level. Or like a cleric. These are called spells, right? So we have that. We want to introduce that same level of flexibility for martial classes. The big disparage in the quadratic spellcaster versus the linear fighter is that the martial classes don't have a giant list of effectively like incredibly powerful feats that they have X amount of uses per day of. So by just giving them a set like the Arcane Trickster and the Eldritch Knight are arguably the most fun or most versatile subclasses for the fighter and the rogue because they get spells that they can add and change throughout the course of their career to help evolve every level instead of only every 3rd or 4th level, right? So you need to have that verisimilitude and that range of options and that range of upscaled like feat abilities that allow you to have more and more of an impact on the game as you gain levels. That is what's missing from the linear martial equation, in my opinion. So that is what this whole book is introducing, as well as giving means for other classes like the hybrid, artificer, ranger, paladin options to be able to curve into that space, as well as the warlocks. Like the warlock needs any kick, but it's too fun not to. So we have some very clever mechanics that slow that give them partial access to these things without making them completely out of control, which we've explored on previous episodes, which you can check out, and I'll revisit again in the future. So stick around, like, subscribe, blah. So that's all they get at 3rd level, but again, with the power system that we're using at 1st, 2nd, 3rd level, 4th, 5th, and 6th level, you're gaining 2 powers at 1st level, right? And then by the time you get to 7th level, you've already got 8 powers, and you're going to get 2 bonus powers at 3rd level, an additional 2 bonus powers at 5th level. So you're actually getting 2, 4, 11. You're getting 11 features, 11 abilities from level 1 to 6 before you get your second subclass archetype feature as a fighter. This is giving you a shitload of ability to be able to mix things up, and nothing in this book outperforms any spells, features, abilities of other classes or other spell lists. It's all just curving into that space in different ways, in different remixes, different ways to approach these different things that already exist in D&D, which makes for a fun new system. So, champion, improve critical, A-okay. So we're going to erase that, and then we'll erase that. There you go. 3 equals, and then 7 equals. Okay, so remarkable athlete. Starting at 7th level, you can add half your proficiency bonus rounded up to any strength, dexterity, or constitution check you make that doesn't already use your proficiency bonus. In addition, when you make a running long jump, the distance you can cover increases by a number of feet equal to your strength modifier. Okay, let's take this. Remarkable exploits. This is my idea for exploits. Starting at 7th level. When you use when you burn mana, let's see, when you trigger an exploit that modifies, when you trigger an exploit that adds power dice to a strength that adds power dice to an ability check. When you trigger an exploit that adds power dice to an ability check, if the result fails, you regain all mana spent this way. In addition, when you make a jump, when you jump, the distance you cover doesn't count against your movement. So this would allow you to jump maybe even like 20 feet. In addition, when you jump as part of movement, the distance you cover doesn't count against the distance. Doesn't count against, what's the wording for that? The distance you cover, the distance you can cover doesn't count against your movement. Doesn't count against the amount. The distance you cover doesn't count against only counts as 5 feet. There you go. Let's do it that way. That way there is a ding. 5 feet of movement, jump as far as you can. The rest of your movement is there. Nice. High level feature idea. When you crit, you can add 1 rank of strike power for free. Huh. So let's look at what an exploit is real quick so the kids at home know what it is that we're talking about here. So an exploit. These are exploits. The way that an exploit works is like, let's, for instance, let's take Field Medic as an example. Field Medic, when making an ability check that can use the medicine or survival skill or a healer's kit, roll 1 power die per mana channeled, adding the highest result to your adding the highest roll to your result. So we know at, like, say, when you gain this feature 7th level, your max rank is 2nd rank, which means you can spend a total of 2 dice. The die type at this level is a D6. It'll upgrade to a D8 at 9th, and it'll upgrade to a D10 at 17th. So at 7th level, when you gain the remarkable exploits, you are rolling a D6. You can spend one mana to roll 1d6 and add that result to your ability score check. If you roll 2 dice, you would roll 2 6-sided dice, but you would only keep the best result. So, like at 17th level, when you can channel 5 dice, the likelihood of you needing 5 dice to get a meaningful result, it becomes depreciating returns. Typically, like around 3 dice, you're going to be rolling higher than the average. It'll be a weird circumstance that it won't be. So by the time you hit 9th level, you're pretty much capping out what exploits are going to be able to do for you statistically, except at 17th level, it upgrades to a D12. So what this feature is allowing you to do is, like, say at 7th level, I want to, we were using the field medic as an example, but it could be like inquisitor, it could be inquisitive, or even master burglar. When making an ability check that can use the acrobatics or stealth skill or a thieves tool, roll 1 power die per mana channeled, adding the highest roll to your result. So at 7th level, if I were to spend 2 mana to get 2d6, keeping the best die result to add to my stealth check, using the remarkable exploits, if I fail the ability check, like stealth check, it would be that would be conditional up to DM, and whether you're keeping like a floating stealth check that's going to last for however long, or if your DM is the sort of person that, like, maybe an easier example is like, I want to get past this particular monster, and I'm going to use stealth to do it. Okay, great. Well, then make your stealth check. Do you want to add any power dice to it? Then yes, I am. If the monster notices you, you have failed your check. So the remarkable exploits, in that instance, since you failed the roll, you would get both of your dice back. So there you go. That would require a DM to inform you when you succeed or fail checks. So we'll need to add in a comment about that. So I'm going to actually come down here into the document real quick. In the DM section, upcoming timeline, new musings. Let's add in here. Champion exploits system. Make sure to add to the DM section about declaring success versus failure in die rolls using power dice. Spend some time here in the DM section. All right, and this is going to go back up to the top. Shunk. All right, so in addition, when you jump as part of movement, the distance you can cover only counts as 5 feet. There you go. So you can clear incredible distances. You're still going to have to use the mechanics of jumping. But there you go. Now, the question is, do I have an exploit that affects do I have something in here that affects jumping? That's an athletics check. Jumping is generally an athletics check. So let's see. Fighting, master burglar, overrun, natural hunter, proselytize, range, resilient, subtle, swift, tactical, unnerving, veterinary training. I don't have. Let's see. Let's go to hey, my first 20-minute timer. Cheers. Take a sip. Let's we need to build we need to build a class feature here. Let's see. Athletic doesn't quite handle it. The thing that we're trying to do here is when making an ability check that can use the athletics or acrobatic. Is that it? Acrobatics. Or athletic skill. Is there anything else? Is there a tool that curves into that stuff? I don't think so. But those are pretty broad skills that get used a lot. So I think I'm okay with just those two. Wait. Comma. Roll 1 power die per mana. There we go. So we need to give this thing a title. What would it be? Let's I honestly don't know. Let's see, synonym for athletic. Again, vigor. Synonym for acrobatic. What might we have? What about gymnast? Synonym for gymnast. I don't want to use Olympic because that's a real world reference. Synonym for gymnast. Tumbling? That's kind of weak. Synonym for athlete in general. How about that? Honestly, I think gymnast is probably good. Gymnast is actually, I think, it's pretty good. Let's go with gymnast for now. Gymnast. Acrobatics or athletics. And then we have master burglar, which is acrobatics or stealth or thieves' tools. Natural hunter, investigation, nature, survival. Where is veterinary training? Thank you. Is animal handling, medicine, or survival skill? Yeah, I'm good with gymnast. Say, to clarify, I'm referring to mountain. Ah! Fair. Very fair. What would that be? Barbarian, Paragon. I'm going to go with gymnast for now, because I think that fits. But thank you for the clarification. Let's see. So gymnast. So that means that we're going to add to the exploits gymnast for sure. And we're going to add it at... no, 3rd rank is appropriate because of the class. I think that's good. Gymnast. EXP1. Exploit 1, comma. Cool. Unlimited jumping, which curves into both of those things. Remarkable exploits. Cool. So let's go back to our build. that adds power. And let's do this. To a strength or dexterity check. That sticks with the theme. That also opens up opportunities for us to have, let's go with remarkable. Is that what it was called here? Yeah, remarkable athlete. We can keep the feature name. Awesome. So let's do that. And that opens up the door for like rogues to have things like intelligence or dexterity checks for them to be able to exploit dice, like the thief, for instance, the thief subclass. It would make a ton of sense for us to have like remarkable burglar, for instance, to have that as a feature. So we can go back and visit that in the future as well. Aye. Cool, man. Let's see. Refund mana on STR dex fails. Jump equals 5 feet. There. Oh boy, additional fighting style. At 10th, you can choose a second option from the fighting style class feature. Boy, oh boy, is that just kind of lackluster, right? Speaking of which, I hadn't had this previously, but have as of earlier today when I was reviewing and setting this up, I realized that we did not have. So instead of acquiring a power, you can instead just buy a feat. So at 20th level, your character can have 16 feats and spend all of your second, like your first, fourth, etc. Level feats. You can gain ASI and leave all of these powers open to just feats. So if you don't want to mess with mana at all, you can just stack up on a crap ton of feats. So the list of feats that we have here is all of these, right? And I hadn't realized, but added today the Fighting Initiate as a feat. So you could spend a power to learn an additional fighting style. There we go, fighting style. And we could write in something else. In your opinion, move remarkable athlete to 3rd. And we can write in something else because only getting crit range at 3rd. But it is not just getting crit at 3rd. It's also getting. You also have the entire martial power system that gets dumped on top of it. But then you have the opportunity to crit more often. I don't think that's nothing. It's the only class in the game that gives you increased crit range like that. So it's like, yeah, I mean, some other things have more flash bang than others, but like if you were to take, like, say 3 levels of fighter and then 17 levels of barbarian, then you're going to have your crit exploit at 19 and 20 and still have access to 5th rank powers as a barbarian at 17th level. So, I mean, well, if you multi-class fighter and barbarian together, you would eventually get access to 5th rank powers anyway. But like you could take fighter 7, barbarian, that'd be barbarian 13. Oof. It'd have to be like fighter 6, barbarian 14 would give you access to 4th rank powers that you can learn as a barbarian and still get the 3rd rank exploits from a fighter. So you'd still get the extra 19 to 20 critical, but you've had to dip out of barbarian. Like if you want to dip into barbarian for a full 14 pull, you can't get that exploit mechanic for your barbarian. You'd have to lowball your barbarian's 14th level feature to be able to get the 7th level feature. I like, because you're getting free. That's giving you free dice. If you fail the dex or the strength check, you get a refund. That could be dozens of points of mana that you're getting for free. Like you could dump 5 points of mana into trying to lift a wall, and if you fail, you get all 5 of those dice back. There's an incredible amount of mana that you can gain just by risking stuff. So I think keeping it 7th level because of the mechanic of it, not necessarily the benefit that you get, but the statistical advantage, the dice advantage that you get, I think warrants a high enough level that's going to penalize anyone for dipping into this to get free dice. Like a 7th level, like a 7th level champion, say 13th level thief would have strength, dex, and intelligence exploits as a fighter rogue
to be able to have all those dice that they could refund, and rogues are just going to be throwing shitloads of dice all the time. To me that makes a lot of sense. So I'm going to keep that for now, but I would encourage, once we get the playtest up and running, that someone would use the champion to actually see how well it plays once we get into the 7th to 9th level range. So let's just keep on with it for now. Okay, so yeah, additional fighting style. That's pretty lackluster, isn't it? This might be a good place for us to start looking at that the locking mechanic you were talking about. I think a fun way to exploit that would be, let's call it, hold on. Unlocked power. That's going to be 3rd rank. 10th level is 3rd rank. Starting at... Starting at 10th level, you can choose one sustained power you know. Locking this power doesn't reduce your max rank. There, it basically becomes a free. It basically becomes free. So, and you get to pick one. So at 9th level, it'd be at most a 3rd rank power. At 13th level, it'll cap out at 4th, which means we need to introduce at 9th level. We want to introduce insert sustained power here. We have to have a sustained power at 9th level to make 10th level be rewarded for unlocked power. I mean, you could have as many sustained powers as you want, but this is gonna be like your thing. Like, this is what you're known for. Yeah. So I think that's awesome. Let's see. And then we have 15th level, so I'm good with that. Unlocked power. 10 equals unlocked power. Pick one sustained power you know. Locking doesn't count towards max channel limit. God, can you imagine if Wizards of the Coast thought like this? Like, built shit like this? How fucking awesome 6e would be? I mean, obviously I think that way because I'm building the damn thing. So I'm a little biased, and I acknowledge that. Superior critical. I don't think I need to make any changes there. Power dice double when you deal damage, just like Divine Strikes. So we're going to go into... Okay, so I think it would also be improved if they actually tried to make a new edition instead. Yeah. They're really afraid of their profit line. The Hasbro has set an impossible standard unto WotC to double its revenue in 3 years. That's preposterous. Everything they're trying to do to increase interest from the population has completely backfired on them. Like, everything they try to do is taking away from their bottom line. I'm okay with that, honestly. I am fine with that. I'm fine with them burying the IP so badly that they have to sell it off to somebody else that would actually treat it well. I don't need to save that. Survivor. At 18th level, you attain the pinnacle of resilience in battle. At the start of each of your turns, you regain hit points equal to 5 plus your Constitution modifier if you have no more than half of your hit points left. You don't gain this benefit if you have 0 hit points. Well, that's nice. Let's see. Survivor. How do we want to exploit that? Exploit. How are we doing on time? 50 minutes in. Okay, so we'll be able to finish this up and then build the power kit, and that'll be it for today, and we'll come back next week and we'll do the Psy Warrior. Looking forward to the Psy Warrior. Let's see. Survivor. At 18th level, you attain the pinnacle of resilience in battle. At the start of each of your turns, you regain hit points equal to 5 plus your Constitution modifier. The start of each of your turns, you regain hit points equal to 5 plus your Constitution modifier. Do we like this? I mean, there's technically nothing wrong with it. You know what? I don't see a reason to get rid of it. I think it's fine as is. See that if you have no more than half your hit points left, that language is there because out of combat you would automatically heal up to full all the time. And I want to keep hit points as something that has to be exhausted because it gives your hit dice purpose during short rests. And it forces a caster of some sort to expend resources to help you heal. So, yeah, I think I'm okay with that. Yeah, so I'm good with this. Cool. That was all the class features that we had to change for. Don't save. For the champion. Now we get to start cherry picking bonus powers from the list. So since we have a requirement to have a sustained power here at 9th level, we'll start with sustained powers at 3rd rank and lower. And I think celerity is kind of a standout here, don't you? It's basically haste. While sustaining this power, you gain the following benefits. Move speed doubles, gain +2 bonus to your armor class, gain advantage with dexterity saving throws from sources you can see, and you can use your bonus action to make a weapon attack or take the dash, dodge, and disengage action. Yeah, I think I'm pretty hip with celerity. And then you'd be able to lock that for free. Again, you could pick up any of these that you want. Celerity equals sus3. Let's do differently this time. Let's start at 5th rank and work our way down to see if we find high-end stuff that we think can be fun at lower end. So what is the descriptive language that they use for the champ? Thank you, Timely Timer. The archetype champion focuses on the development of raw physical power owned to deadly perfection. Those who model themselves in the archetype combine rigorous training with physical excellence to deal devastating blows. So let's see. While sustaining this power, you gain resistance to all damage and attacks can't score critical hits. As a reaction to taking damage, you can dismiss this power and burn 2 mana, ignoring your max channel limit to do so. If you do, until the beginning, you can dismiss this power and burn 2 mana, ignoring the max channel limit to do so. If you do, until the beginning of your next turn, you are immune to the triggering damage type. While sustaining this power, you gain resistance to all damage and attacks can't score critical hits. So this indestructible, that's like a 13th level barbarian bear resistance, except for the psychic damage thing that you get chipped in. So that's not much of a difference. And attacks can't score critical hits. Okay, so if we're going to make a class feature that allows us to lock this permanently, when sustaining this power, you gain 1 additional attack when you take the attack action, and you gain advantage on all attack rolls. You gain 1 additional attack when you take the attack action. Daunting presence, weapon resistance. You know what? I think we want to change the language on the unlocked power. Starting at 10th level, you can choose 1 sustained power you know up to 3rd rank. That will keep the really, really powerful stuff out of your for free basket. But that means we now have to go look at the efficient power technique. Choosing a power you have learned of 2nd rank or higher, reduce the rank and amount of mana to channel the power by 1. This doesn't modify any kicker costs. A kicker cost is like the giant. The base cost was 2 to get large size, but then you could kick it up to 4 mana to be a giant, to be huge size. That's what a kicker is. So let's see. Locking this power doesn't reduce your max channel rank. Efficient power. Up to 3rd rank. Locking this power doesn't reduce your max channel rank. There we go. The efficient power feat doesn't affect. You can choose 1 sustained power you know. How to word that differently. The efficient power feat doesn't reduce doesn't count.
Something like that. The efficient power feat doesn't count towards reducing the rank of power for this feature. Like if I were to use efficient power, it would take, like, celerity would be dropped from 3rd rank to 2nd rank. It would only take 2 mana instead of 3, and it would only count towards 2 towards your max channel limit. If you were 17th level, you could channel up to 5 ranks of power, or lock up to 5 ranks of power. This would count as 2 with efficient power. But again, you can't just reduce indestructible from 4th to 3rd rank and then take the unlocked power, use it for the unlocked power feature. Caveats, exceptions to rules is how 5e works. General rules, and then everybody gets to make exceptions to rules to be cool, which actually is cool if you have cool ways of changing the mechanics. Yeah, so cool. All right, back on task. Let's go with, but still, indestructible is a great indestructible. +4 is a great it's a great power regardless. So cheers to that. Let's keep it. But it's also expensive, so we don't want to load up just on a bunch of expensive stuff. Well, I mean, at that level we kind of do. Banishing strike, paralyzing strike. Do either one of those feel particularly champion-ish? Not specifically. So let's bump our way through. I think Thundering Strike is it's a push effect. Push something directly away from you by 10 feet per point of mana spent. STR1. It's a strike, first rank for exploit. Ooh, Rite of Revival. As a reaction to when you drop to 0 hit points but don't die outright, you remain conscious and roll a number of power dice equal to the mana burned, gaining that many hit points instead, up to your maximum hit point total. I like that a lot. Rite of Revival. Freaking awesome. Keep poking down through the list here to see other cool things that feel particularly champion-y. There's Lightning Reflexes, which is as a reaction to failing a dex or int saving throw, re-roll a d20 and take the better result, potentially changing the failed roll into a successful one. That's a 1 mana reaction that you can take. Defenses, Feint, Great Fortitude, Strength or Con for Great Fortitude. Iron Will is Ka or Wisdom, so maybe Great Fortitude and Iron Will. Like we have absolutely no need to commit to the level that the character has. All we're really looking for is themes and ideas. So what happens at 10th level? We're unlocking power. At 7th level, we're regaining exploit dice. 13th level, I mean, you can pick up Great Fortitude and Lightning Reflexes as early as 1st level if you want to, but by 13th level, they're free. Every time a character gains a level, you can swap out every power you know for another one, and then whenever you take a short rest, you can swap out one of the powers that you know. A ranger, paladin, and artificer can swap out all powers that they know whenever they gain a level, but they can only switch out one power every long rest, along with any spells that they know. So, flexibility. Lots of flexibility there for characters using short rests. If you're taking 2 or 3 short rests a day, you can swap out, and like if you're going to go into a social scene and you want to take a short rest, you can swap out
one of the strikes that you know for an exploit. So you have advantages like you take the Inquisitive power. So you can now start using your reaction dice to ramp up your dice on doing like persuasion checks. Yeah, stuff like that. So, but yeah, the level isn't nearly as important as what it is that it's giving to you. That's what we're looking for, is celerity. Come on, dice. That's the priority. Does it feel appropriate? Like, is what the power gives you, does it feel appropriate for the level of power that you're gaining? So, there we go. So now we're in 3rd rank. Let's see. I feel like, well, we gained a strike at 2nd. Let's look at maneuver. I think we need to have maneuver in here somewhere. TK Bubble, Flicker Pounce, Double Strike, Curse of Enfeeblement. Yeah, none of those maneuvers feel particularly champion-y. Double Strike. I was looking at, oh yeah, Double Strike. Double Strike is a Magic the Gathering term, which means you get to hit twice. But strikes, all of our strike powers are called strike. So maybe we call it double attack. Two attacks with advantage. Make 2 weapon attacks with advantage. You can draw a weapon as part of the attacks or 2 thrown weapons. As part of each attack. As part of each attack. Period. That way I don't have to worry about that. Yeah, we'll just leave Double Strike as is. But I think Double Strike is a pretty cool, it's what is that, a maneuver? That's a pretty cool maneuver to have. We'll tentatively add Double Strike in. And again, you could use Efficient Power as either a feat or one of the powers that you learn. Like, I could learn Double Strike, and then I could learn Efficient Power to drop the cost of Double Strike down to only 2 mana instead of 3. But I can't do that until 9th level. It's like downcasting that they introduced in the UA. Oh, everything that's in the UA 7 has been in this book for a year. Like all the weapon proficiency, like all that stuff, all these exploits, changes they're making, almost all of it exists inside of this book already. It thrills me to no end to see that we are on the wavelength of what Wizards is attempting to achieve, but having a congruent system, a smooth system that works with everything together. Instead, I'm actually tickled pink about that. I'm looking forward to seeing what they actually end up doing with weapon masteries, because we could just add those to your list of feats, like just gain Vex, just gain push, and then you can just have like a generic up the amount of damage that you deal while using this exploit, for instance, or while using this mastery, for example. So, let's see. Okay, I like this song a lot. All right, now we're looking at 2nd rank things. Let's look at. Let's go down here and look at. I love Swift Attunement, just because it grabbed my eye. Using an object interaction to attune to a magic item you're holding. I love that. It just lets your character just stack up on a bunch of magic gear, and exploits, maneuvers can be channeled as an action or a bonus action, and you could use the same exploit twice in the same turn if you wanted to, or if you're using Action Surge 3 times in the same turn, because you can use it twice. So like a rogue, like for example, Double Strike might not make a lot of sense to a lot of characters, but like like for instance, a rogue only gets 1 attack normally, right? But you could use Double Strike as an attack as an action, and make 2 attacks instead of not spending any mana and only having 1 attack that round. And then you could use your bonus action to get another 2 attacks that round. So like if you had celerity on top of you, and then you took double strike, that rogue could have 5 attacks in a round because you're using celerity as a sustained effect, and then double strike as a 2-point effect. So you'd have to be 17th level to do it, because that's 5, unless you just leave it unlocked. If you leave it unlocked, you could do it as early as 9th level. But you can have celerity active, so you get a bonus action whenever you use the attack action. You get double strike, which allow you to make 2 attacks as the attack action, so you get to tack on an extra one for celerity. And then you'd have your bonus action would be double strike again for an extra 2 points. So you could have potentially up to 5 attacks. A fighter who has 4 at 20th level could take celerity and get a 5th attack, and then take double strike as a bonus action to have up to 7 attacks in a round. But it's going to cost 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and if you efficient power all those down, you could do those 5 times. Like you could have like 5 mana if you buy down that ability with efficient power for all of them. It'd be celerity drop by 1, and then double strike drop by 1. I love it. I love how you can build your own action sequences. Hey Plant, how you doing? Am I sad I cannot hear anything? I am sad I can't hear anything. Let me double check real quick to make sure there's sound coming out on my side. That's a really interesting comment to make, so I appreciate that. Double checking here real quick to see if I'm really audible. Interesting. Yeah, I'm audible. So there's got to be something going on your end. Let me know if it's a mic music balance issue or not. But thanks for showing up, man. Hello. Hold on real quick. Hello, Plant. Check the previous 78 episodes, and maybe this one will click in eventually. I hope for you. I hope. Let's see, but we got to keep pushing on. So we're almost done for the day anyway. We have 2 more powers to pick up. Let's see. What are we going to look at? You can heal 1 teacher you touch with a number of hit points equal to the result of 1 power die per mana burned. I love that. And what is that? That's a 1st rank power. That's not bad. Only D6. It's terrible healing efficiency, but it's there. And you do regain it on a short rest. Okay, so this is something I was looking at. There's mobility as an exploit here. It's a first rank maneuver, right? And maneuvers can either be actions or bonus actions. But you can already do all of these things as an action. So by default, it would only be a bonus action that you'd be able to trigger these things. However, down here in sustained powers, there's Rogue Stance. There's a 1st rank power. Rogue Stance. You can use a bonus action to dash, disengage, or dodge. This is a sustained effect. So a rogue gets this for free, duh. But you can maintain concentration on this and be able to do this, or you could lock it and then be able to do it for however long you want, as long as you remain conscious, don't get killed, stuff like that. Hey, okay, fantastic. Glad to have you here, man. Cool beans. So I'm thinking Rogue Stance is redundant with mobility. So I'm going to get rid of mobility, because if you're going to spend a point, why would you spend 1 point just once to get that one thing when you could, as part of your sustained action, just trigger it, and if you don't want to sustain it, just let it go at the end of your round. You can let things go for free during your turn, or as a reaction during not your turn. So there are instances where that may be advantageous for you to do that. So I'm just going to get rid of mobility altogether, because we already have Rogue Stance, which means that we're going to use Rogue Stance that's going to be a sustained power 1. There you go. So now I'm going to do a quick check for mobility. Where else does it sit? Art of mobility. Perfect. And the other instance of it being used. There's my timer. My 20-minute timer telling me it's time to go. Maneuvers. Let's go with sustained. Rogue stance. These are this isn't a DM section. Again, this whole document is available here. If you go down to my Patreon link, the playtest. You don't have to be a member of my Patreon to gain access to it. It's you click here. This is at the beginning of the video. You can see this. You click here. You scroll down to playtest content for martial powers. Click on that, and it opens up the martial power playtest content that we're playing with right now. It's read only for you because it's playtest content and it's not the final draft. It's just, you know, something for you guys to look at. But way down here on page 65, way down here on page 65 is where we start looking at the 4th edition type of creatures: lurkers, skirmishers, controllers, brutes, minions, artillery, that stuff. The creature types. Each of them get a power kit as well, determined by the rank of power that they have, which is here, which is their CR. The CR of the creature determines the maximum rank that they can use and the kind of power dice that they can use against your characters, and the total number of powers known. So ultimately, after we publish this book, we could go through the entire monster manual and build out a power kit for each and every creature that's inside of there. We could also do the same for flea mortals. We could also do the thing for all the bestiaries that KP put out. This is just a template that you can drop on top of any creature. You just make up a creature. Here's a random fighter, and we're going to call him a CR, like a CR5 veteran. And he's going to have 3 powers that he knows. He's going to use D6s when he does it. He's going to have up to 2nd rank powers that he can know. And when you do that, you're either going to have... the powers are either at will, once per round, or once per encounter. That's how you scale them. It's a pretty simple system. It's very 4E in nature, but it allows a DM to just ad hoc different things together to build out unique power kits that can actively challenge what your characters can do. If your characters are really fire focused, then when you want to have a really tough solo boss, then you can have high resistance to fire magic, for instance, like that. So, but right now, all we're really trying to do is find ourselves. I just wanted to make sure that mobility was clear from the plate, and now that it is, we also have down here power gear, building magic items using power, and we have like a random weapon table here that you can build the build random generator gear, off of the list up above. And we'll provide, when we finish this, we will provide a spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet. That'll have all the powers and all the different 5 disciplines with a die number next to it. So when you're randomizing magic items, you can roll a 1d6. On a 1 to 5, pick your 5 different disciplines. And on a 6, it has 2 disciplines. And so you can go through and you can pick 2 disciplines for that. And then you could random on the table which discipline it is that you have. It'll be like something silly like some of them like 3d10 minus 2. So you'll have like a range of 1 to 28. Stuff like that. I love building tables like that. Super fun to do. But let's find, what are we looking for? All we're looking for is a 3rd rank power. A 1st rank power. Let's take a look at our feats real quick before I gotta go. I am going to go pick up someone real quick. Thanks, man. I'm going to be out of here in just a few minutes. So go ahead and do that, but you're welcome to catch up on all the stuff in the back. Like, subscribe to keep up with this stuff. We'd love to have you around. Mounted combatant, piercer, poisoner, ravager, savage, sentinel, sharpshooter, slasher, tavern brawler, telekinetic. Tavern brawler isn't so horrible. Later, guy. Let's look at tavern brawler real quick. See if that's something we want to pick up. Might make sense. Rough and tumble fighting, using whatever weapons happen to be at hand, you gain the following benefits. When you get feats like this, you don't get the stat advantage. You just get the rest of it. Proficiency in improvised weapons, unarmed strikes, use a d4 for damage. When you hit a creature with an unarmed strike or an improvised weapon on your turn, was it always a d4? Did that get modified? Did they stealth modify that, or is it always a d4? I think Tavern Brawler is a great thing to take for the champion. Let's do it. There we go. That's our champion kit. So this is... I would arguably take this. It's not a bad kit at all. Especially if I was going to... And since multi-classing is basically free to mix the martial classes together and continue to accumulate power and mana, basically at scale, then using this to curve into like the Remarkable Athlete is a really good reason to stick around till 7th level, especially if your team has only like 1 or 2 combats per day and does a lot of exploration and social. Remarkable Athletes is not bad. I mean, it's only strength and dexterity, but that's a good thing to use. That's it, guys. That's our day. We're ran out of time. We ran out of design. When we come back next week, we're going to do Psy Warrior. Just so you know, when we finally finish the Spelljammer Combat and Exploration book that we work on Monday through Friday, then the Eberron adventure that we've been developing on Monday and Thursday nights, that becomes our morning project Monday through Friday. That opens up our Monday and Thursday night for us to do martial powers Tuesday at lunch, as well as for like 3 hours on Mondays and Thursday nights. And we'll be building out a playtest campaign, like a hex crawl, dungeon crawl sort of stat grind sort of thing, for us to be able to lean into the way that D&D is supposed to play, with like 8 encounters per day lasting anywhere from 3 to 5 rounds each. With characters refreshing on a short rest, it would basically be tempoing somewhere around every 2 or 3 battles. Have time for your characters to take a break. So when we build out our playtest, we're going to be reintroducing progressive gameplay like in first edition, where it was assumed that you had turns that, say, lasted a minute or 10 minutes, and every hour of adventuring that you go along this way, you could take a short rest, basically an hour short rest. So you'd have an off and on sort of cadence throughout the day to be able to push through things and then take your rest, and then push through things and then take a rest. Push through things, back out of the dungeon, or secure an area to take a long rest. Building a progression system for 5e that we used to use in BECME and first edition and second edition. Reintroduce those things to be able to build a stable cadence for the campaign, and look at adding that into the DM section at the back end of this book as just like a general guideline on how to pace dungeon crawls, because this stuff it really leans into exploration and combat, which is a lot of what you're going to see inside of a dungeon. But we're basically going to build a randomized dungeon. So if folks that want to play test that stuff with me, once that comes up, once the Spelljammer book is completed, that's when we're going to start launching the playtest content for us to build out and build a game from. So we'll be devoting time each week here, building that out when we get down to the bottom of getting Spelljammer published. So that's it for today, guys. I'm thrilled. Knack, thanks a lot for the support. Plant, glad to see you here. Everyone else that's out there lurking in the multiverse, thanks a lot for being out there. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon. Check out this content on my Patreon. Be welcome to drop me links or drop me hellos, either on the Patreon, on my Twitter at Phil Kearney, or if you know where I lurk on Discord, be welcome to say hey to me. I'm going to be back tomorrow morning for more Spelljammer combat and exploration artwork for the book. And again, thanks a lot for being here, guys. I'll see you on the other side. Cheers.